Hi, everyone. We're going to get started. And first, I want to say a few words about the lecture series, and then I'll introduce our guest of honor. So I'm Jessica Bardsley, and I want to welcome you to the 2026 Experimental Lecture. I'm happy to see familiar faces, but also some folks I don't know, so welcome everyone. The Experimental Lecture Series is supported by both undergraduate film and television and the Department of Cinema Studies. I also want to thank some collaborators who helped make tonight possible, particularly Toby Lee from Cinema Studies, who put this together with me and had the idea to bring Eva. I also want to thank Ina Kajoulis, Alice Benavides, Allison Andreas, as well as our student workers, Lexi and Spencer, as well as Jorge, our projectionist for tonight. I also want to give a shout out to Lynn Sachs, a filmmaker who began programming this lecture series at NYU in 2008. Lynn curated and promoted this series over 13 lectures that spanned 17 years. And she did this in support with both cinema studies and undergraduate film and television, but also professors Jonathan Kahana and Dan Strebel. And they were able to bring filmmakers including Peggy Awesh, Craig Baldwin, Abigail Child, Peter Kramer and Jack Waters, Sue Friedrich, Ernie Gare, Barbara Hammer, and many others. When Lynn taught here at NYU, she had this vision to make a series that would invite experimental filmmakers to give a lecture that is itself an experiment. As she describes, quote, "From the beginning, I imagined this talk to be one in which someone who had immersed themselves in the world of alternative experimental film would reveal something about the process of making their work. The intention was to lay bare the challenges, the gnawing, ecstatic reality of the work of making art." So tonight, in that spirit, we have the wonderful filmmaker Iva Radivojević, who joins us for the 15th annual experimental lecture. Iva is an artist and filmmaker who divides her time between Athens and Lesbos. Iva's films have screened at the New York Film Festival, Locarno, New Directors, New Films, Rotterdam, and many more. She is a recipient of various awards, including the Sundance Art of Nonfiction Fellowship, a Guggenheim Fellowship, and others. Her book, Avenue of the Living, was published by Big Black Mountain Press, and her recent short story, When the Phone Rang, was published by Red Herring Press in the UK. So for tonight, we have kind of an evening in two parts. So first, we will have the lecture, which will be about 40 minutes, and then we'll have a very brief break, and then we will show Iva's last feature film, When the Phone Rang, and that's about 70 minutes, and then we will have time for questions. So I think without further ado, let's welcome Iva.
Hi, I'm not Eva.
Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. I'm going to be handing around this clipboard with a pen attached, and you will be writing on it. What we're doing is an exercise. It's a surrealist exercise originally, called along the lines of one called The Exquisite Corpse. Some of you might be familiar. Wherein a drawing or a poem is generated by a group of people who may or may not necessarily know what has come before the line that they are drawing or writing. And essentially what you're going to do is a version of this derived by the poet Anselm Berrigan. It's eventually going to look like this. And Anselm, what he likes to do is go to the park or the coffee shop or the diner or wherever he likes to go, the bar, and and it's a way for him to generate poetry. He's a poet.
As Karina is.
Oh yeah, my name is Karina. We weren't gonna say that. So what he does is he writes these lines around the page, and the architecture of the page, construed in this way, allows his a kind of freedom of thought, right? But as a collaborative exercise, what you're going to do is each one of you will have a line to write on. So you take the whole line. You can write a sentence or a series of words. But what you're doing, like Anselm does, is you're picking up from your environment. So like lots of times he's eavesdropping on whomever's around him. So in this case, who's around you is Eva. And so what you'll do is maybe catch language from Eva's lecture, maybe catch turns of phrase or syntax that you're interested in from her lecture, and you might also include your own language and thoughts or anything that's going on in your mind, and put those things together. They don't have to be coherent, and they can also be coherent. So that's, now I'm over-explaining. Okay, so I'm going to hand it off. This is Eva.
Excellent. This is Eva now. This is going to go around. I would just ask that you write in capital letters, and some that's legible because somebody's going to have to read that afterwards. One sentence, pass it on. One sentence, pass it on. Whoever finishes, if you have reached the end, hold on to it. If you have not reached the end, pass it back around. Sounds good? Great. Thank you, Karina. That was excellent.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I am Eva, and thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, everybody who made this happen. Lynn Sachs, who is not here because she has another lecture that she's giving tonight. But we have gathered here for a lecture, and not just any lecture, but an experimental lecture. Isn't that right? And I wonder what happens if we refuse that language a little bit and we don't call it a lecture at all. What if we call it an experiment? Or what if we call it simply an offering? What happens? Will it still be legible? Will it be too fragmented? What will happen if this is not a lecture, but some kind of an offering? And shall we try? Ooh, Justine, hello. Okay, so to set the direction of this lecture, I'm going to put a quote that will sort of set the tone or the foundation of the direction we will go in. And because there are so many friends in this audience, and I can pick on my friends, I will ask Sam, because Lily is eating, to read the quote.
As of mid-2025, more than 117 million people are estimated to be forcibly displaced worldwide, with over 42 million classified specifically as refugees. This record-high figure includes individuals forced to flee persecution, conflict, violence, or human rights violations, with the total number of displaced people having passed 100 million in 2022. It's unclear whether this statistic includes climate, economic disaster, related migration.
Thank you. I want that voice following me everywhere in life. So what happens when we read this quote? What questions come to mind? Where did these people go? Who did they lose along the way? How many languages did they collect? What kind of continuity do they have after all this fragmentation? What is the texture of their reality, or what is the texture of their dreams, for example? Can we see the screen well? Our presentation mode, is it working?
Yeah.
Great. As a child, I had an odd dream. In this dream, voices arrive from different directions, and they are unintelligible. Some are near, and some are far. It seems they want to deliver a message. It's very hard to understand. I try to understand. The message seems important, but I can't. Is our sound working? Oh, Interesting.
I have this problem in the classroom. It keeps defaulting as if it's going into headphones or iPhone. So you have to go
So then,
select Crest genre again.
great.
So it's going to find these AirPods.
My sister is very far away, but her headphones are with me. Yes. All right, let's try this. I had a dream. It was an odd dream. So the voices come from far and from near. They want to deliver a message, but it's very hard to understand. The message seems important, but I'm unable to understand. The dream is not a nightmare, but there is something menacing or frustrating about it. That identical dream arrived 2 more times, almost decades apart, and in different countries. In this dream, seemingly, there is a failure to communicate, an inability to communicate. The dream, the voices, or I, are illegible. Dream time is fragmented, interrupted, untranslatable. It is associative and led by a set of symbols. In dream time, past, present, and future combine. Time collapses. In dream time, multiple realities exist at the same time. The dreamer can be everywhere at once.
U njenom mladom umu taj poziv započeo je rat. Ovaj poziv je jedino sećanje na tadašnji život kog se sećala u detaljima.
I don't remember many things. I remember feeling sick on the drive to the Bulgarian border. I remember fragments, the car, a grey city, their charter flight. I remember a spider stuck in the window pane of the airplane. I remember we landed on an island and the day was yellow. I remember somewhere far, a country was falling apart.
Ich lande auf einer Insel in der Sonne.
I remember soon after arriving, I lost the ability to communicate. My language was useless here. I remember being illegible. I remember my mother now single and cautious, asked us not to speak our language. English is better, she said. I remember collecting words, phrases, gestures. I remember bits of English and bits of Greek. I remember the days were filled with solitude, and I remember feeling mute.
Isabel meia-noite, veta, diz-se veta, veta delistovacet, veta consistence, veta poszczególne monarki, veta odpozycji, veta zoloczysi, veta prazny selo.
I remember dwelling in different languages felt like dwelling in different temporalities. Every language I now speak is accented, collaged together.
Ici, j'existe tel un étranger connu. Ma propre ville natale est maintenant une place étrangement connue. Je ne me souviens de rien. Je voyage, je voyage. À travers les secondes des palmiers. Une figure couverte de noir. Une balade à l'audace et un hochement de tête.
I remember dwelling in memories. I remember feeling nomadic. I remember this being the beginning of constant movement. I remember wanting my own personal language. Language is a category of the mind, and time is a category of the mind.
ودرك اللي يهمنا هو قضاء الروح. جيت لهنا باش تحلم.
Dislocated time is fragmented, interrupted, untranslatable. It is associative and led by a set of symbols. In dislocated time, past, present, and future combine. Time collapses. It's a subjective rhythm. The dislocated person holds multitudes. Dislocated time is a language. It translates as dreamscapes. Dreams are sometimes nightmares. I don't remember when it started, but I started designing my personal language with images, sounds, words, rhythms, and music. I didn't know it at the time, but I was constructing my own native language through cinema. One I could speak any way I want. In my collection of images, sounds, rhythms, things seem to repeat. Wandering, travels by car, by boat, by bicycle, walking. Spectral narrators, speaking multiple languages. Lone figures in vast landscapes. The sea. There's polyphonic narration, there's shape-shifting
ماذا تصنع
protagonists.
الدموع في زوبعة النار؟ ماذا في يد المضطر من قرار الرفض أو القبول؟ وما أغبى البشر الذين ينسون أنفسهم وما هم سنفونية الموت.
Fragmented structures, circular structures, landscapes, an emphasis on remembering, an emphasis on forgetting, an emphasis on documenting. And an overall reoccurring preoccupation, at times subtle and at other times overt, with migration, exile, dislocation, and belonging.
نحن من سوريا، من مدينة اسمها حلب. بده يركب باص أو سيارة يطول 10 ساعات قبل ما يوصل للطرف الثاني من بيته. يعني نحن ببلد مقسم مثل برلين. يا إما بهالطرف يا إما في الطرف الثاني عم بستنى الموت.
Μια μέρα, νωρίς τον Ιούλιο, 65 μετανάστες πιαστήκαν επιπλέον στην Αδριατική θάλασσα, στην ακτή της Κροατίας. Στριμμένοι πάνω σε μια βάρκα, χωρίς βενζίνη, τους ενδιέφερε απλά να βρεθούν σε μια χώρα της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Σύντομα, βρεθήκαν στο Berwick, το πιο τουριστικό μέρος της Κροατίας. Κάποιες μέρες αργότερα, κοντά, στα νερά της Μεσόγειου, περίπου 50 άνθρωποι πεθαίνουν προσπάθοντας να καταφέρουν κάτι ανάλογο, να φτάσουν στην Ιταλία. Ο 25χρονος Άμπας, ο μόνος επιζώντας, δίνει διαφορετικές ιστορίες για το ταξίδι τους από την Τουνησία. Λίγο πιο νότια, στα τέλη του Αυγούστου, μια βάρκα ταξιδεύει 4 άντρες, μια γυναίκα και 2 παιδιά από την Συρία στην βόρεια ακτή της Κύπρου. Κανένας δεν επέζησε.
The dislocated person experiences the jarring moment of dislocation as a small death. They're suddenly torn away from history, family, community, language, all that constitutes a self. The dislocated artist, as a result, attempts to reconstruct the self through a collection of memories, experiences, and documentations. The dislocated artist enters a timelessness, a pluriverse, becomes a nomad in time.
Teshomi. Gabriel, in Thoughts on Nomadic Aesthetics, writes, in nomadism, time is not abstracted. It is an outcome of experience. It arises from life itself. To nomads, art tells stories from experience and from memory. This is less anchored on symmetric or tangible realities. It subscribes to an inverted reality utilizing memory and experience to recreate it.
Ποιος δεν βρήκε στην έπαρση του δρόμου με χώρο συγκριτικό. Δεν έχω να σου πω λόγια του κόσμου. Δεν είναι σημαντικός ο ενικός μου όταν σε έχω εδώ μπρος μου. Δεν έχω να σου πω λόγια του κόσμου. Δεν είναι σημαντικός ο ενικός μου όταν σε έχω εδώ.
How is our list going? Where is our list? Moving very slowly, I see.
Okay.
My films tend to be containers. They want to preserve things. They want to preserve memories. They want to preserve people. People who have been lost. People who have been found. People who are here or not here. People who I know and don't know. I've shown you some fragments. And so that I don't leave you too fragmented, I'm going to show a film in its entirety, which is about 10 minutes long. It's a film called Danica Dragica Duška, for those Yugos in the room. These are names of my three grandmothers. Or When Zora, the goddess of dawn, opens the gates of heaven for the sun to emerge. A very long title for a very short film. Zora is a mythical figure in Slavic mythology. She's the goddess of dawn. She's a protector of the land and of women. She protects those she favors against death. And this film was made after the passing of both my grandma and my mom, 3 months apart. So it reads as a bit of a eulogy, but it's definitely a film that tries to preserve something. So I'll play that. You keep going with that list. We're getting close to the time. Close to the time. Take words from the film and write it down. Can we like hit all the lights for this, or should I hit all the lights?
Една ще отдавна. Или секогаш. Или во нито една време.
And where are we now with our list? Wow. Very slow. What are we going to do?
Pick it up, people, pick it up. Yeah, it went back.
Oh, it went back.
Oh, it went back.
Yeah, it went all the way back.
Oh, great.
Oh, it didn't? How did it get back to me then? Who has it? Okay, wait.
Send it back, send it back. It's looking good. I like it. Okay, so we need like 5-10 more minutes to fulfill this list, but I'm going to walk you through what's going to happen. You're going to finish the list. I have assembled some images from all of my films that are traveling nomadic images. It's, I don't know, maybe 7 minutes long, the whole thing. We will take your writing. It will be read, narrated by a Specter, who is in this room. And we will make a collective nomadic film. That's the idea. But only if you can finish this text. We could. And you can just...
I don't know. I'm not the best.
Yeah. Maybe we'll give it 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
5 more minutes for the narration. Nice to see you. So this is the experimental part of the lecture. We don't know how it's going to go. It's an experiment. Hopefully it will go well. I have named it I Travel, I Travel. Will anybody volunteer a different title? Based on what we have experienced? No?
I return.
I return, I return. Any other takers or leavers? I return, I return. Oops. Oh, crap.
You can't change it.
No, it's embedded in the... sorry, I tried.
Yours is better.
Yeah, I always like this. Okay, I'm gonna, for the sake of time and our projection following, retrieve this list.
How much space has been filled in?
Maybe half. Yeah.
The Spectre will just have to read slowly.
We're gonna give it to Justine right behind you after you finish your sentence, and then we'll call it quits.
That's a good one.
Good. I was counting on that. Yeah. Is our Spectre exercising her vocal cords? Yeah.
Oh, should I go here? Yeah.
Shall we retrieve the...
Yeah. Where are we at?
It's going to be worth the wait. Well, how about we do this? How about while we wait, I think there are maybe a couple more people who must, right? Who
Yeah,
must
they-
contribute? Okay.
There's a couple-
So while we wait for those who must contribute, maybe what I'll do is save us a little time on the other end by introducing the film. So after Eva, after we make this film together, please, if you need to use the restroom or run out to take a quick break, please do. But I think we will try to start the film like within just a few minutes of breaking. So we'll really try to make it a short break. And for now, I'll just say, when the phone rang, so it premiered at Locarno in 2024. Oh, sorry. It premiered at Locarno in 2024, and what prize did it win?
Special mention.
Special. But what's always struck me about this film, I've written about Eva's work, and we're friends, so I've thought a lot about her work before. And what struck me so much about this film, the film that we're making today together with her is called I Travel, I Travel. And you could tell from her lecture how much of her work is about mobility and migration and movement and displacement. But what's so striking about When the Phone Rang is that it's a film about a place and a time. And it's a film that really gives us the luxury of dwelling in a place and in a moment. And it's the moment before leaving, right? It's the moment before moving. And that moment is so pregnant with emotion and this kind of silent excess of emotion that one feels in adolescence, but also in adolescence on the brink of one's world disappearing forever. And so, and it's just kind of brimming over and spilling over with this emotion. Even though I remember in talking to Eva about it, so, Eva and I were, actually, I feel like I even saw you you were preparing to shoot. And I remember, in an instant, she had already shot the whole thing. And I was like, oh, so are you editing? How long? And she was like, oh, editing is going to be a breeze because the script is I'm just following the script. It's like, I don't know if you had storyboarded, but it was and it was astounding to me how it was just so efficient and so straightforward as a production process and post-production. But then I remember watching it and thinking, the film formally conveys that sense of tightness, right, and intention, right. But at the same time, it is so full of this excess, right, of this other thing brimming over, right. And that is what I found so deeply moving when I watched this film, that it seems to go against a lot of it seems to almost push against a lot of the tendencies in your work. But it also, for me, is the film of yours that for me is so full of emotion and so full of meaning. So that's my little intro of the film, and perfect timing.
I was going to wait until the end to thank you, Toby, so much. Everything that she said, and you'll see the film, and then you can judge. I wanted to wait until the end to introduce our Specter here, but she's here, and this is Corina Kopp, and she is a poet, a writer, a curator, so many different things. I absolutely love her brain. She's my friend, and we do many things together. So, Corina, take it away. We have a light. We're going to switch off projection. Yeah, projection.
It's an experiment.
It's an experiment. This is the important part.
Thank you, Corina. But we have gathered here, what if 117 million people forced to flee? What is an odd dream? Vanya's headphones, which I heard twice in an identical dream, I heard decades apart in time. I had a nightmare, not a dream. And there was a call. The word screeches of bastard babies, although the day was yellow. I want this voice to follow me around wherever I go, breathing sleep, lost, ruined, familiar stranger is how I feel in the world. And it's hard to imagine the experience of everything being unfamiliar and being unfamiliar to everyone. The word unfamiliar itself starts to disintegrate, probably like the feeling of selfhood does in a place of displacement. I look behind myself and realize I've been here before. Ocean, vast, death. The ocean, deep, unexplored, drowning, what's beneath. 3 years ago, something happened to me. Today, Eros awoke me from a long slumber. I am reborn. I don't feel belonging, only existence marching. Into dreamscape, languages, landscapes, cinema, screens, in the dark. And so the refracted self leaves the window, a pluribus nomad. In time, I am everywhere at once. Darkness, crossings, every moment is an image. Will the blip of 16 millimeter burn through the frame? Will every image and sound fall into its void? I want to write, but I want to watch more. Muted, dream, glitch, music, language. It is now later than before. Dawn, sun, rise, smoke, bulb, breath, wind. The ink drags itself across the green of the earth. I cannot see or hear, but temporal being, identity of what sorts. My films are like containers containing dreams, people. I am a star. You are a star. We are all stars. Star is red. Red is yellow. And yellow is blue. In the end, what about this? What if we say that we don't travel, but the land does? The land is ripped from us, incarcerated by borders, and has its time, language, and dreams.
ความฝันที่วิตกกังวลของเธอทำให้ฉันตื่นจากภวังค์อย่างร้อนใจเธอกำลังตามหาอะไรบางอย่างมาสิมาดูกันว่าเราจะหามันเจอไหมเธอรู้จักความคิดของเธอเหมือนกับที่เธอรู้จักรองเท้าของเธอแหละให้ฉันเล่าอะไรบางอย่างให้เธอฟังหน่อยเราจะได้ออกพ้นจากความคิดเหล่านั้นนั่งให้สบายนะนั่งอยู่ใต้เส้นผมของเธอลองฟังนี้ดู
เด้อคนนกเขาคนเอิ้นหาคู่อีนางคือทอดสู่สิหัวเอิ้นใส่ผู้ใดเลี้ยวไปพุ่นไปพี่มีสิริบ่มีพายมันละถูกไหนมันละถูกไหนละสร้างบ่มีพี่สายสอนละสร้างบ่มีพี่สายสอนเกิดมาวาสนาสำนีบ่มีไผเอาไปซ่อนบอนบอกให้รักแล้วมาถ่ายทอนเหมือนนกแก้วลืมคอนไม่รังนอนลืมรังเกิดมาวาสนาถอยต่ำเป็นหมอลำมีแต่คนเกลียดชังมีรักแต่แล้วก็ผิดหวังมีรักแต่แล้วก็ผิดหวังความฝันมาพังอานิจังอานิจาวาสนาคอยคนละพ้นว่ามีคู่อีนั่งขึ้นต่อสู้นอนแต่จะหำหาเดี๋ยวหาอายนี่ป้าตายละบ่หาก็ต้องมาเพิ่งปินหน้ามานี่เด็กบ่น้รูปหล่อเขาก็หนีไกลห่างคงไม่มีทางที่จะได้เกลียดหลอกบ่เหลือตอนตัวน้องเนี่ยบ่รู้บ่เหลือตอนตัวน้องเนี่ยบ่รู้
พักสักเดียวตรงนี้ได้ยินไหมความเงียบงันเหมือนโหลแก้วที่เต็มไปด้วยนกชอบไหมเรื่องที่เล่าเมื่อกี้ต่อไปฉันจะเล่าเรื่องเกี่ยวกับลูกกระต่ายให้เธอฟังมนุษย์ทุกคนมีผีที่ตามหลอนผีที่สามารถจำทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างได้ผีที่อาศัยอยู่เหนือการเวลาความทรงจำของฉันพันกันยุ่งเหยิงอยู่ในเส้นผมของเธอทุกๆ7 เมตรโลกก็เปลี่ยนไปละฉันมาที่นี่เพื่อบอกเธอว่าทุกเรื่องราวทุกความทรงจำสามารถเขียนขึ้นมาได้ หวังว่าเธอจะเลี้ยงข้าวกลางวันฉันในฝันของเธอนะ
Did you like that song? An applause to you. Thank you for participating in our little nomadic film experiment.
So we'll have a few minutes, just a few minutes break for anyone who needs a break, and then we'll start the film in maybe like 5 minutes. Yeah.
I really appreciate about your work, because I've seen your work over many years, is you're constantly inventing new forms for your ideas and the different stories you want to tell or hold or bring together. And I'm wondering if you can talk about just like your process to getting to a form. Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for staying. Yeah, I taught a class this morning all day talking about this. So let me try and, form. I feel each story has its own language and its own purpose and its own rhythm. And you know, a lot of times I get asked about this delineation between documentary and fiction and so on, which is completely uninteresting to me. But it's more like, what is the language of this particular story? What is its rhythm? What is its cadence? What is all these things, you know? And as you said, like I've made 3 feature films so far and a bunch of shorts. Maybe the shorts have much more of a language between them, but the features are very different. And it's also partly because I am really excited about figuring out the language of cinema and different ways of saying things. I mean, all my films are about dislocation, but they tend to use different registers to talk about that. I also get bored by doing the same thing all the time. So it's very exciting to me to try and say things in a new way, and always kind of like pushing, like, what is this language look like? I mean, part of the lecture before I had this intertitle or whatever that I took away, but Cecilia Vicuña has this thing where she says language is a migrant. And so something about the language of cinema also migrating and changing shapes and forms and shape-shifting is exciting to me. So, did that answer?
In the first part, in the lecture, I wrote down, because, you know, as you all can tell, Iva does many things, and her practice takes many forms. But one thing one way in which you are very active in the film world, and also one way that sometimes I like to think of you as an editor. And as I was listening to your lecture, I was like, this is totally an editor's lecture. And
in what way?
Because it was all about the syntax. Like, it was all about the connective tissue, right? And the articulations or these disarticulations, right? Which is also what poetry is, right? Poetry is syntax, right? And all of the things that can and cannot slip in the cuts, right? Like, and so maybe this is like an extension or just of the thought that you had about form, right? That in some ways finding a form for each piece, sometimes when I think of your work, it's almost like you're finding, I don't know, the form or the medium that you're working in is actually syntax. I don't know if that resonates with you or if that rings true in any way.
Yeah, it's true. This is the problem with being squashed between 2 smart people. Now I have to up the smartness. Yeah, and I think like sometimes it's not even me looking for it or finding it. It's almost like it finds me, you know. So this film, I've said in many Q&As, is that it was born out of a poetry workshop. So it was actually born out of a constraint or a prompt that was given to us. I took this class with Louis Warsh, and he had given us many different prompts, but it was this particular one that stuck out to me, and then sort of like unleashed the story. I had written it as a story initially. And so I had no intention, or not intention, but more like the idea for this film was not even in my conscience, I would say, until the story emerged. And emerged from a constraint, and the constraint was that we were to write story of some few paragraphs, and each paragraph had to begin with the same sentence. So the sentence became, it happened in a place that no longer exists, except in books, when the phone rang. And that sort of became the looping structure of the film.
I have so many other questions and thoughts, but maybe we can open up to the audience and see if there are questions from there. Spencer has the microphone if anyone would like to.
Hi, Eva. This is my second time seeing the film because I also was able to see it when you screened it at the Metrograph, along with a very impressively curated series of shorts.
I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, one of the shorts was by Raul Ruiz, and so thank you for introducing me to him. Actually, I have his book with me. And when I saw the film the first time, I was not aware of the discontinuity of the time. There's when I'm watching the film, I'm like so focused on the present, and that the things that have moved past me sort of disappear. And it has this, it's very interesting that how this discontinuity within the film feels so normal that I didn't even notice it. Well, anyway, in the book, Raul Ruiz talks about an ideal cinema in which each frame has its own space and its own time, and that each frame means something completely different and holds something completely different. And so I'm wondering if you could talk about when you were editing the film, your focus on the sequencing of events given such an intensity of the present moment.
Is this the Poetics of Cinema that you're reading? Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I spoke to somebody else who also said that they didn't register the discontinuity. I described it as a fragmented film, and they said, this is a fragmented film. So it's interesting that you're receiving that. So your question is about the editing and each frame having its own. It's funny because this is what you brought up before. Like I don't feel like I edited this film. I wrote this film in a way that perhaps talks to your point, which is that each scene contains its own, it had to be extremely precise because there was budgetary constraints, right? So, and perhaps that is what makes each frame so full, or has to speak to so many different things, because I'm within a constraint. Everything about this film is a constraint, right? It started with the writing, which is a constraint, and then the budget makes a constraint, which I hate to say, that is a little bit of a clinical explanation, but yeah, I never thought about it this way. It's interesting. And it's also like sometimes very unconscious, right? I'm doing it because of some kind of a process and necessity, but it translates into something else. Like for example, like, that it doesn't seem to me as a continuous film, but it does to you, right? So it's I like what you're reading in it. I don't know if I can say more about it though. And thank you for bringing up Rose.
Any other questions?
I might just jump on that though and say that I think that sense of the presentness and each frame and each scene being a kind of world in and of itself, for me, that was such the experience of I mean, she's a child, but she's on the brink of being something, you know, just that next phase, and of course the rupture in this film is also what pushes her over there as well, right? But it's that experience of like to experience the collapse of a world as a child, right? Like, of course it's experienced as close-ups. Like, of course it's experienced as details, right? And each frame is a world because, you know, at that point, I mean, we can all think back to our memories of earlier points in our lives, and that is what we remember, right? So in a way, there's a kind of continuity for me in the sense that these are so clearly fragments of her experience of this moment. But that sense of a world contained within a frame for me is very much connected to the fact that it's, you know, it's a child's experience of it.
It's a child's experience. They are close up because we want to be in her subjectiveness. But also there is something about like sensorial memory or something, right? And like the textures of things around her and stuff. So when memories come back to me, they come back in this way.
The chocolate-covered banana marshmallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like the pressing of the cassette.
Oh my God, the awesome collection of old phones. It's amazing.
All of it, but even like the muscle memory of those phones that you had to kind of like ring and stuff, right? So all of that becomes like some kind of a sensual thing that comes back. And I guess like that's what I wanted to, and it's very sort of small fragments of things that came to me as memories, and they were potent enough to want to be communicated in this way or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I wanted to bring another thought into the conversation. What I thought was so incredibly beautiful about the film was this idea of circularity, about how this trip is about to happen. She's about to be taken out of her country that's about to not to exist, but that every scene has her already traveling. So there's that kind of the sense of wandering that happens throughout the film. Is so circular that whatever is going to happen has already happened. That was really beautiful. That's not a question, but I just thought it was kind of part of.
Yeah, I loved how you described it. In my mind, the way it worked was that.
I love when they're going into the apartments. That's really amazing.
The following.
Yeah. It's just like everything's moving.
Yeah. Somebody asked me if I still do that. I do still do that.
That's creepy.
And I try not to be creepy. But there's something about... I like how you described it, because there is something... The way that I thought about that constant leaving is that... Because the memory is so fallible, right? And I don't know exactly when or how we left. So it's just fragments of these things. So it's almost like every time the phone rings, it's the same day at the same time. At the end of it, we're leaving, but there's so many different iterations of that leaving because it's just bits and pieces that are, you know. But your description of it, again, is something else, which it's a beautiful way to see it, I think, or register it.
I think there's one question here.
Thank you for showing this film. I'm a student in undergrad film, and I guess I'm curious as to, I think it's really fascinating that you edit as you write the film. I think that's something that I haven't really experienced with making films before, and I think the form of your film is very inventive. And I'm curious as to I wonder if, like, do you work in other lineages of art other than filmmakers? Because I think there's so much, like, inspiration from this film that seems to come from outside of film, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts or, like, recommendations.
Good question. I mean, for myself, I didn't know I was going to be a filmmaker. I started painting, and I studied illustration and animation, so it wasn't necessarily film, always. And I did play the piano as a child. So a lot of my rhythms and light and stuff, like composition, it actually comes from other mediums, they're not film. Yeah, I mean, there's also like what you said before. There's poetry, there's writing, there's so many different. This is something we were discussing in class today as well. Like what creates worlds in my mind, especially when it comes to film, are sounds, experimental music, things like that. Anytime I go to an experimental show of music, I start to get images. Or if I have an idea for a film, they will start to inform the shape of things. And sometimes so much so that I end up using the thing that I'm seeing in the film. Because, I mean, again, sorry to be so referential to this workshop today, but it was just like it was called It's All Rhythm, right? And for me, it's all rhythm. So when I'm thinking about creating anything, it's more like some kind of an internal cadence that wants to get translated, right? And so with this film, it's a little bit like, what is the experience of memory coming back? And the memory comes back to haunt the present all the time. It's this kind of like looping circular thing that happens. And so how am I going to translate that into a form? Yeah, did that answer?
And I think there's in the back.
Hello. I have more of a comment, so it's not really a question, but
No, sorry.
I had more of a, sorry?
I was making a bad joke.
Okay. I had an old friend whose parents were from Novi Sad, and I just wanted to say thank you. I'm dropping things. Thank you for, I guess, supplying me with a visual language to think about a part of the world I don't know much about. It's a very subjective comment. Perhaps there's people in here that spent lots of time in Southeastern Europe, but I have not. And that was always just something I sort of thought about, knowing that person, like this her parents' story. They immigrated to Canada, and then New Jersey, where I'm from. This is an old high school friend of mine, and yeah, I didn't have anything supplying my mind with images, and so you captured this part of the world very beautifully, and that's a very basic comment, but just the serenity you captured was really cool, especially, of course, with the content of like Specter of strife and war. There's not much pain, I guess, sort of visually transmitted with your film. More so, maybe not like delight, but just like presence and calmness, which is really interesting because the whole context is about just like destabilization, But it's actually a very grounding thing to be in and to watch. So thank you for all the reasons about it. Yeah.
Thank you. Also, if these parents, you can find me easily online. If these parents want to see Novi Sad, I will send them a link gladly. So, in case they're,
I have a very specific question. Where did the archival imagery come from? Is that personal, or did you source it from somewhere?
It's my family photos.
I was wondering that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Most of them are not around anymore, so I didn't have to ask for permission.
I mean, you described your short film as a eulogy, and watching this again, I definitely felt like this is also a eulogy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to conclude, it's like I call this like a container to have all these people who are, some of them not alive, some of them are, live in the container of a film, so that they're not just in my memory, but that they are given a kind of life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
everyone.
so much.